Okay, so maybe you are in a place of complete overthinking, right? You're feeling like an imposter, you're procrastinating, you're putting things off and avoiding, and all of it is because you have been overthinking. You are in analysis paralysis. And so today I'm going to talk about that because it's annoying, right? It's annoying when you get into this, and nobody's immune to it. I get into it. In fact, I have been there lately. And it's been driving me crazy. So I wanted to talk about it because I need this more, just as much as you do probably today. And so that's why I'm going to talk about it today, because I wanted to go over some of the things that I have done in the past when I get into this analysis paralysis place, and what you can do also to help you get out of it. And so first I wanted to tell you a story. So one of the things that I used to do when I was in IT, and this is probably to get me out of analysis paralysis because I'd be stuck. I couldn't see the solution because sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so when you get all into the detail, then you lose sight of the big picture. You start struggling to see the whole entire message that you're trying to send, or the entire picture of what you're trying to do, because you're lost in the weeds. And so what I used to do when I was in IT is I would have one of my colleagues come and sit with me, and I would explain the problem to them. I would explain everything, and I would show them different parts of my code and the design and maybe our requirements. And we'd talk it out. The thing was is that most of the time my colleagues sat in silence while I explained all this, because the answers really were in me. I just needed a sounding board and somebody to help me and maybe ask the right questions, right? Ask for clarification, tell me more about this, whatever. And it always helped. Like all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's my answer right there. And I'd always tease him and say, gosh, you make me so smart. Because I always had one particular guy that I always went to because he was on my team and he was really good. He was a really good programmer. And so I wanted to get his help. And so I would say, you make me so smart. And he'd say, but I didn't do anything. And the reality was, he did do something. He listened. He listened while I talked it out and sorted through all the details, because I was completely lost in the details and was forgetting what I was doing. And by explaining it to somebody else, it helped me get out of it. It helped me get out of it. Okay, so I wanted to just talk about that. So one of the reasons why you're stuck is because maybe you don't have enough information, and then you go out and find way too much information, right? And you become so inundated with information, you can't even keep track anymore of what are your own thoughts and where these sources were, whatever. And then God forbid you go to Chat GPT and you ask them for help too. That can be a downward spiral too. And I have experienced that. If I use Chat GPT too much, it seems to, like, I don't know, block my creativity and block my own thinking. I think I get too dependent on it, or it makes me doubt my own thinking, because it just can come up with anything right off the bat. It's just constantly doing it. It can come up with a different but same philosophy on the same subject over and over and over again to infinity, right? And so it can make you not, I don't know, just lose your creativity and lose your own thinking process. So be careful on that. I want to caution you on that. And then the other thing would be, now that you have all that information, you might be over analyzing things, right? Now you're like, oh, maybe this little piece isn't good enough. And what about that? And you're just like so stuck in everything and completely over analyzing everything, instead of just letting go and knowing that your readers are smart enough to understand what you're talking about, and have a good enough relationship with you to reach out if they need help, right? So that is one of the other problems, is over analyzing. And then the worst thing is that imposter syndrome, comparing yourself to others. Now, that's one of the reasons why I actually advise my people to look at not really your competitors necessarily, but look for inspiration out there. Look for people who you really like to emulate, like you like what they're doing, you like what their success, or you like the way they do their web pages, or you like the way they do social media, or whatever. And then you can start using, and I'm not talking about copying people, I'm talking about emulating them in terms of the structure that they're using, or the layout of their sales page, or different kinds of things like that you can start looking at. But actually comparing yourself to them is probably not good. In fact, Ruth Sukup, I don't know if you know who she is. She is a blogger. Her blog is Living Well, Spending Less. And she always talked about don't compare yourself to others. In fact, in her course, she says just don't even follow people on Facebook, because they're going to distract you. They're going to get you off track. They're going to that comparison, that constant comparison to your competitors is going to make you have lower confidence. And I strongly believe that. It's like when I start really looking at my competitors and I get too much into that, then I start doubting myself. And the thing is that my message is a little bit different than theirs. We might be talking about the same things. We might even be teaching similar things, but our approaches are different. And that's what makes us resonate with our people, right? Just like you have your own approach and your unique skills and abilities and experiences and hard knocks and everything else you went through. And so it isn't really productive for you to be comparing yourself with others, especially others who, are way far ahead of you and have a whole entire team and all that stuff. If you're a solopreneur, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of work to do. And so getting into comparing yourself to others is a really bad trap that you might want to try to stay away from and avoid that kind of thing. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is why you might be stuck is because you're stuck in perfectionism, right? And that's where we get with analysis paralysis in a way, is we're looking for that perfect solution. We're trying to make it perfect. One of the things for me is I struggle with feeling like my stuff isn't organized right after I went and organized it and did it how I wanted to. I second guess my organization, and is my document organized well, or is my curriculum organized right? And those are things that I've been getting stuck in as I've been developing my new program. And I don't want you guys to get stuck into that, because that is like you're so worried about getting it wrong or not having it perfect or not having it right that you can just get yourself stuck, right? And you get stuck in perfectionism. And so, what can we do about it? What can we do about it? That is the next thing. So, one of the things you can do about that is to take that iterative approach to working on your work. Now, sometimes we go through, let's say you're creating a document, let's say you're creating a lead magnet or something like that, and you're first writing it out in a document first, so you have it all there. And then you want to go back through it and edit it and take care of it. Yeah, you can do that. Go through and edit it. But if you start getting into this, oh, it's just not good enough, oh, that's not right, then you really might want to take that more iterative approach where you really step away from it. In fact, I read that Stephen King said that he writes his novels and then he puts them away for 6 weeks and he doesn't read the transcript. Then he goes back through and reads it. And that's how he manages that iterative approach to developing his and writing his books. And so think about that. And you might not have the luxury to wait 6 weeks right now while you're trying to bring up your business and get things out there. And that's okay, because remember, we talk about the iPhone a lot, and the iPhone had that same thing, right? They took an iterative approach to developing the iPhone. And when they did, then they actually had to cut some of the features out of their first phone, the iPhone 1. They cut out flash photography and they cut out the forward facing camera because it wasn't really working to their standard, or they didn't quite have the technology, or maybe it was too buggy. I don't know exactly the story, but they left those features off. They originally wanted them, they left them off. And so you can use that approach as well. Is that okay? Maybe you have a section or something that you don't feel quite right about. Maybe you need to do more research or you need to sit on that for a while. Just let that piece go and maybe pull it out of that document for the first iteration and put it back in later when you have more time to go through that process, and then just create another version of it. Which leads me to the next step, which is versioning your work. So when you create a document or something that has anything to do with your business, maybe you're creating curriculum or whatever, you want to version that work. Version it, because when you then make adjustments, you can actually version it to the next version. My tip is to version it like this. The first version that you put out there publicly for consumption is version 1.0. And then every time you go into the document and make changes, if you don't release it right away as you're making changes, you're just each day you go into it and make a few changes, change it to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 as you go. And then you can change it once you release it again to version 2.0. And that way it gives you that measure, like you know that, okay, the people that are currently getting it, they're getting version number 2. And in my Canva document, I'm version 2.3. And I plan on continuing to do this. And then when I re-release it, I'll version it to 3.0. And that way, you know that the version you have sitting on Canva is not the same version that the people are getting right now. And when you republish it, then you'll know that they're okay, now they're getting the next version. And that can actually help you in terms of your marketing, because then you can send out an email and say, hey, I just released a new version of this particular lead magnet and a freebie, and do you want it? And so then people will download it and they'll get more, and you can reactivate a subscriber that way. Maybe that was the one that they loved, and now you're offering one more little piece of juicy tidbit in there that will help them. Okay. And then the other thing is to do continuous improvement, right? I'm always talking about continuous improvement. Super important for you to always be continually improving, not only your work, but in your skill set as well, right? So when you're weak in areas, then you're going to take that time maybe to build that skill. So I like to do, when I coach my clients, I talk to them about really going broad and getting all your business set up first, right? That foundation first. And then you start, as you do continuous improvement, you'd start deep diving into areas where you were weak or you feel like you need to improve. But when you release that first version of your whole entire business, you start collecting data, right? You get baseline data. Now you know what is doing well, what isn't doing well, and then you can start making improvements on all of the things, and making improvements in areas of the actual products, your sales pages, email marketing, all that good stuff, plus in your skill set and your own abilities, and then maybe even in your processes and in your cheat sheet that you created for yourself. You might go through it and realize, oh, this isn't quite right. So instead of just ignoring it and then just having in your head like, oh yeah, I know that cheat sheet isn't right anymore, go update it, and then use it every time, and just make notes of where it's wrong, if it's wrong, and then may update that cheat sheet so that you have a good cheat sheet. Because in the future, if you ever need to delegate that particular thing, now you have a nice little cheat sheet for them to use, so they know exactly how you do things. Everybody does things differently. Sometimes there's certain things you may want done your way, right? Things like your file management system. You let somebody into your files, you start sharing files with people and sharing the folder structure so they can get in and find things or put things away or whatever. You want them to follow a file management system so that things are not just in weird places, right? Or they're just everywhere, random places, or nobody can find anything, that sort of thing. And you can learn more about that in my course that I have available. You can DM me, file management, if you are interested, or you can put that in the comments here if you're interested in learning more about that. And then the next thing is to just simply make a decision and move on. Wrong or indifferent, make the decision, apologize later. Sometimes we have to do that. You have the best knowledge you have, you've done your due diligence. Now you just need to make a decision and go and just do it. And then collect data and see what happened. Go back to continuous improvement, make a new decision. Sometimes that decision may not be wrong, even if you have to tweak it later. It may have been a learning part that you needed to do, a boundary you needed to hit so that you now know where to go. A little bumper car. I like to think about the little bumpers in a bowling alley where for the kids, right? They put those bumpers on so the ball just go ring, ring, ring and hit the sides. That's what we're doing with our businesses a lot, right? Is we're hitting those boundaries, trying to figure out where we fit in the marketplace, what kind of messaging we need to send, and what works, what doesn't work, all that stuff. And then another thing is just admit it now. It'll never be perfect. You're always going to find flaws with your work. You're always going to find things that you can improve on. So just admit it now and move on and just do the very best you can, okay? Because things change so quickly and theories change. And even if you're a health or life coach, things change so much. So you're going to evolve and change as you go too. And instead of squashing that by trying to get some final version of something, just allow for that wiggle room that, okay, it's not perfect, it's what it is today, and it'll improve in the future, okay? And then the last thing, or actually two more things. One is just go for it. If you're really struggling and you're in that analysis paralysis, just go for it. Just do something, take some sort of action and do it. So maybe that's making a list. Maybe that's going live for the first time and bumbling through it. Who cares? Maybe it's just writing something and just taking notes and just quit worrying about wordsmithing it. Just write it all down and then go back through and look at it. Okay. And then the last thing is ask for help. If you are really struggling and you work alone, asking for help, finding somebody that can help you and be a sounding board. It could be a coach, a mentor, a colleague, a friend, somebody who has just that ability to understand and communicate with you and communicate where you're going wrong. And then just be open-minded. If they say things and they critique it, be open-minded and don't get your feelings hurt and just go ahead and get that help that you need. And that is one of the critical things that I offer with my coaching clients, is that ability to just have a sounding board. And then I let them tell me their ideas, tell me things. I ask the questions, I pull it out of them, and then I help them break it down into tasks and things like that and projects so that they can actually implement those ideas and not just leave them hanging at the idea stage and not know how to actually implement it. Okay, so if you are trying to get your business set up and you are in analysis paralysis and you are a coach or course creator, I have a new lead magnet. It is called 5 Steps to Launch Your New Coaching Business. And you can use that as a course creator as well, because it really works on the same principles as a course creator. But that's a really good place to start. And it just gives you like some of the main pillars of starting a business. It doesn't include them all, but it includes like the 5 most important pieces of your business that you'll need. And you can grab that at thescrumshop.com/launch-guide. Okay, so I hope that helped, and I hope it helps you get out of analysis paralysis. And anything that you need, if you need help, if you need that sounding board, reach out, because that's one of the things I specialize in. I've got a lot of experience at listening to what's going on and then breaking it down into pieces that can be done and tasks that can be done, breaking it down into something that's manageable. All right, so I hope that helped, and I will see you in the comments. Bye.